Good afternoon. A warm welcome to those attending, also to our viewers watching on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. This is a meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is Councillor Smallwood and I am the chairman of this meeting. Details of the business to be considered today are shown on the agenda, copies of which are accessible on YouTube underneath the broadcast. Please note that members of the committee and officers will be using tablets and laptops to view today's agenda. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarms do go off, please follow officers to the fire exits and out of the building to the designated meeting points. Mobile devices. For those in the room, please switch off your mobile phone devices before the meeting starts or put them on silent. Councillors, if you have any declarations of interest to make in relation to today's agenda, please ensure that you state whether it is pecuniary or non-pecuniary and give the reasons for your interest. Members need to declare an interest in any item on the agenda where they have that is not already listed under their register of interests. Furthermore, you do not have to declare an interest just because you are a ward councillor or because you are a governor. For those watching via YouTube, which I'm sure there are many, if you are so minded, you can complete one of our resident feedback forms. These can be found in the information section underneath the YouTube video. Those forms are intended to help us improve the way we run these meetings. Now we move on to the attendees of the meeting, and if you could all introduce yourselves for the record, starting with my colleague on my right.
Anisha Tedji, Democratic Services.
Councillor Shehriar Ahmed-Walana.
Councillor Kuldeep Lakmana.
Good afternoon, Simon Boniface, Environmental Protection Team.
Good afternoon, Lois King, Principal Licensing Officer.
Good afternoon, Saleh Joby, Legal Services Officer.
Thank you all. We're now going to move on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Anisha.
No apologies.
Thank you very much, Anisha. 2, declarations of interest in matters becoming for the meeting. Councillors? There are no declarations of interest, so we move swiftly on to agenda item 3. To confirm that the items of business marked in part 1 will be considered in public and items marked part 2 will be considered in private. All of the matters of this afternoon will be in part 1. There are no matters in private. So we now move on to agenda item 4, matters that have been notified in advance or urgent.
At this point, we may wish to note that the applicant had indicated that they would be in attendance today. We have tried to contact the applicant just prior to the commencement of this meeting, and we haven't been able to get through it.
Okay, thank you very much, Anisha. I appreciate that, and we will continue on. As has been said, we have attempted to contact the applicant. They have not answered the phone. If they attend, then we will work out where we are on our agenda about how we can slot them in, and we will attempt to show some flexibility. However, we do have to stick to a particular agenda, and we will not be breaking any rules. We are now going to move on swiftly to an introduction from the Regulatory Services and Licensing Officer in relation to this application for Pepe's Piri at 3 Byron Parade, Uxbridge Road, Uxbridge. I'd like to hand over to Lois King to present today. Lois, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. You have all received the report bundle and agenda and will be familiar with the application. This is a hearing to consider a contested application for the grant of a new premises licence in respect of Pepe's Piri, 3 Byron Parade, Uxbridge Road, Uxbridge, UB10 0LZ. The application was submitted by AR and AAA Limited, and representatives from the company were due to be present today. However, their submissions can be found in the addendum which was circulated on the 7th of August 2025. The application was made and eventually advertised in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003. The new premises licence application seeks authorisation for the provision of late night refreshment Monday to Sunday from 2300 hours to 0300 hours, both indoors and outdoors, with opening hours of 1100 hours until 0300 hours. We have received one representation from a responsible authority, namely the Environmental Protection Team. They are concerned that the operation of the premises may give rise to public nuisance from noise and odour, and that none of these matters are addressed within Section 18 of the operating schedule, which forms part of the application and can be found in Appendix 1. The manager of the Environmental Protection Team is here today, so I'm sure he will elaborate further on the team's concerns and answer any questions that the committee may have. We have also received two representations from interested parties, namely local residents. They are concerned about noise, litter, antisocial behaviour and safety in terms of delivery drivers. Unfortunately, neither of the residents were able to be in attendance today. Mediation was attempted by the licensing team, and this included an offer from the applicant to amend the operating hours to Sunday to Wednesday 1100 to 0200 hours, with Thursday, Friday and Saturday remaining as 1100 hours to 0300 hours. Mrs. Ellis's response can be found in the addendum, but we did not receive a response from Mr. Pancania. I now invite the committee to determine this application, giving due consideration to the application, all submissions, both verbal and written. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lois. Councillors, do you have any questions at this point? No. Thank you. Councillor Armour? Okay, fantastic. We may be moving on quite quickly. The next thing is to hear from the applicant and licence holder. As has been said, the applicant and licence holder is not here. Should they turn up, I will make a decision as to whether we can go backwards and take legal advice from the legal advisor to my left. So as they are not here, we will then move on to the responsible authorities, and I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Simon Boniface from the entire Environmental Protection Team at the Council. And Simon, I ask you to make a few remarks now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's slightly unusual for us to be in a situation where we're making an outright objection over a takeaway premises with regard specifically to its kitchen extraction system. Every takeaway premises of this nature in the borough will have an extract system which has the potential to create public nuisance, the potential to create noise, the potential to create odour. But there are some unique sets of circumstances in this case, which I'll go on to outline, which gave rise to our objections and us being here today and not coming to an agreement with the applicant. As we do in many such situations, upon receiving the applicant and prior to raising our objections, I undertook a visit with some of my colleagues to carry out an inspection of the premises, look at its layout, understand its relationship with neighbouring residential premises, and to make an assessment of the likelihood of the premises giving rise to public nuisance. That first visit was detailed in my original presentation of the 12th of May, and upon attending, we found a number of issues, but most concerningly, the presence of an excessive level of noise during a daytime afternoon visit arising from the kitchen extract system. Upon attending, we also found that the extract terminated at very low level, below the level of residential windows and all the flats above, adjacent to a residential house, and there was dispersed smoke in the area, the scent of which was detectable from some distance away, hung around in that courtyard area, and there was a visible sort of, not plume, but visible sort of slight fog in the air from the extraction. After making those initial observations, I approached the premises and actually spoke directly with the applicant. I had a look at their extract system in situ, and I asked them to come to the rear of the premises with me so that they could see the impacts that I observed directly. We gave quite a lot of advice at that stage about our concerns, broadly speaking how they may be mitigated potentially, trying to understand why this was arising, and offering to accept further information they may wish to submit to us prior to us making an objection or even after that case. We were shown some limited details which have been supplemented directly to the licensing authority, not to ourselves, which we've now had a chance to review. To summarise my position, and then I can go into any technical grounds if you wish, we believe that currently the premises is giving rise to significant public nuisance arising from both the noise of the extract, a broadband aero noise, and a particularly intrusive and offensive tonal oscillating noise. That it's also giving rise currently to public nuisance caused by the low-level discharge into a courtyard area and the smoke arising from that, because part of their cooking process is to use an open grill under which food containing grease drips down.
Just take a seat, but we're on someone who's presenting, so just take a seat.
So we consider that's giving rise to public nuisance at the moment. We also consider, and I can go on to discuss, that there is very limited means to mitigate that particular harm, particularly around the odour, and that to grant permission after 2300 hours with respect to the odour would be to extend that harm in terms of the duration, extend that harm in terms of the most offensive times where people are expected to sleep, noise. I don't know the layout of the upstairs premises, but premises tend to be orientated where possible so that more sensitive rooms for sleep are orientated away from the source of noise, and of course this is on the busy trafficked Uxbridge Road, so those areas of the premises which should be a source of refuge for sleep and relaxation will be impacted by odour and noise. And if you imagine a hot summer's day like we've had the last few days, and the inability to open your windows without exposing yourself to those two factors, it's why we ended up here today. I've not detailed the technical elements of the noise, the odour, why we consider mitigation may not be feasible, or commented on the submissions by the applicant, but I can do so if that's of interest to the committee.
Okay, I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping. Can you just introduce who's arrived and the two gentlemen that have just arrived, who you are for the committee's purpose? If you could just press the button on the microphone and then I can...
Testing.
Yeah.
My name is Rahim Rashid, one of the partners at Pepe's Uxbridge.
Okay, thank you. If you can turn your mic off.
And my name is Sadiq Karuwalia, and I'm the partner with Rahim Rashid in Pepe's Uxbridge. Thank you.
Could you just repeat your name, please?
It's Sadiq Karuwalia.
Thank you, sir. Okay, just to bring you up to date, because you were late, we have started the agenda, which means we have skipped past the point where you get the opportunity to present. On this occasion, I will go backwards and allow you to present, so we are there. But out of respect to Mr. Boniface, who was here on time, I will take Councillors' questions first on his presentation, and then we will move on to you. You do not get any chance to question Mr. Boniface at this time. Councillors, do you have any questions, Mr. Councillor Ahmed Banana.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much for the information you have shared with us. It does surprise me why the applicant was not willing to listen to your advice and cooperate with you, whereas the objections are quite serious. Can you just elaborate on this?
I had emailed the applicant, the person I'd been engaging with, and made that offer, and after they submitted some very basic information and I asked them for some further information, I heard nothing back until they communicated with the licensing authority and explained that they didn't wish to engage directly with our service. So that didn't afford us the opportunity to engage with them to offer advice, or to engage with them and ask for more information and clarification on the information they subsequently submitted, which included a noise report and the odour mitigation details, which were very broad in terms of the information they provided, and they had explained that they weren't able to provide the full specification of the extract fan to us. which I understand, although in 20 years of dealing with these sorts of applicants, I've never had an applicant refuse to provide the full specification of an extract system. That's the first time.
Thank you. Councillor Lukmana.
Thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. The first one being, do we have any complaints to date about the noise and the odour?
No, we don't have any complaints. I wouldn't necessarily expect them at this stage. When I did my first visit, it was on the 12th of May, and I was advised the premises had been open for 6 to 7 weeks at that stage. Furthermore, they're not actually operating after 2,300 hours at the moment. And I would say the vast volume of commercial noise complaints I receive are with regard around the borough as a whole, and indeed around London, about kitchen extract systems or refrigeration systems associated with small commercial businesses. Very typically, the point at which residents come to us is not at the onset of the noise, but at the end of the tether. So I've got 2 commercial extract system complaints at the moment, which are both ongoing but have been ongoing for many months before the resident realises they can complain to the council. But I have no complaints at the moment from the residents above or behind.
My second question is probably covered in your technical report that you've got. How did you measure the odour and the noise emissions?
So I attended and made a subjective assessment, which is routine. When we're making an assessment of a nuisance, be it public or statutory, there's no British standard. The British standards we may use to infer problems, but there's no standard that says there's a nuisance. Sometimes we may undertake an environmental impact assessment. This was so far beyond what we would deem to be acceptable, and the applicant's own data shows that they submitted, that it really wasn't necessary. I mean, if you're talking magnitudes of order of 3, 4, 5-folds more than what would be considered acceptable in an assessment, then we wouldn't go to the resource of spending 2 days to make such an assessment. Likewise, an odour assessment, there are technical means to do an odour assessment, but they tend to be undertaken when you've got huge complaints about big commercial industry, because the cost incurred can be £30,000 to get an expert in for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Obviously, in the addendum, we have a little bit of evidence that the applicant has provided regarding the extract fan. Can you just talk me through, from your professional opinion, some observations of what they provided at the moment?
If I may start with the noise report. So that's a July dated noise report. I think the first thing that's most apparent is it's a noise report designed around an extract system that will be operating up to 11 p.m. So when we undertake an acoustic assessment, as I said, there's no threshold, absolute threshold, where something is a nuisance and something isn't, but we use an assessment called BS 4143, which is the reference assessment that they refer to. When we do that assessment, we, in simple terms, look at the background noise level and then peg the offending noise to that background noise level. And the standard they chose there was to be 10 decibels below the background noise level. So the background noise level was your first part of your assessment, and obviously, especially in a road like the Uxbridge Road, your background will tend to be quieter later at night you go. But because they did the assessment based on a terminal hour of 2,300 hours, it took one sample of background noise at 10:30 to 11 o'clock. So your background noise level is probably much higher. Your target level effectively is much higher than it would be at 3 o'clock in the morning, which makes, for the applicant's perspective, the results quite not very helpful. But from our perspective, it shows the offensive nature of the noise at the moment, because they have detailed the situation as is in their calculations, and then their proposal to reduce the noise with silencers and so forth. And if we were to look at the as-is situation, apologies, I need to bring it up. In their calculation chart, which they provided, it's a handwritten calculation chart showing the as-is situation within the report. in blue writing on a column with lots of different noise levels, they are suggesting the current noise levels are huge. I think we have levels of over 69 decibels, and they're saying they need to get down to 29. So what they're saying is, even at the 11 o'clock situation, you need to be 29, and we're really 69. Now, from a layperson's point of view, that looks like they're more than double as loud as they should be. But I would point out that decibels aren't a linear scale, so any 3 dB increase in noise level is actually an objective doubling in the noise level. So if you're 30 or 40 dB above the level you should be, you're a huge order of magnitude louder than you should be, and that's using the wrong baseline that they've chosen anyway. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you very much. I've got a couple more questions. You've noted concern about patrons' noise and driven motorcycles. Is this based on a specific incident you've seen or witnessed, or are they anticipated, or you just anticipating them based on location and hours?
That's very much a secondary concern, in my opinion. That could be dealt with by condition. I have no evidence of observed issues with patron noise or motorcycle noise. The applicant didn't put forward anything in detail within their operation schedule for that, and a dispersal policy, and particularly the layout of this premises is such that it's a great location for vehicles and motorbikes to get across the borough, but they do have a driveway in front. You have a number of commercial premises in that area. You may have, based on other premises we've observed, a tendency for drivers to brake, wait for deliveries in that location at 2 o'clock in the morning, and a dispersal policy for the drivers to prevent those issues is probably something that we would hope to see addressed if the other issues weren't there.
That brings me on. There's other outlets nearby which have a 3 o'clock licence. Do you have any evidence of their hours are causing any public nuisance?
No, we've got no complaints against them at the moment, open complaints against neighbouring properties, and certainly in terms of the noise and the odour issues that we've seen, we're not aware of anything of this ilk. It's the low-level termination, the type of cooking, and the fact that you're dispersing into a closed courtyard with residential above, which makes this premises unique in that respect.
And just to be clear, you've not had any specific complaints about this premises since they've been opened about the odour or the noise, and the majority of the report is obviously based on, which I respect, your professional opinion, but at the moment this is presumptive rather than a live potential issue.
I would say it's not a potential issue in that we've observed the impact, but I would absolutely say I don't have any individual complaints from nearby residents.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for that and taking our questions. Councillors, do you have any more questions? No. Okay. We're going to unconventionally go backwards in the agenda to invite the licence and the applicant, Mr. Rahim Rashid, to present to us. You have an opportunity to present the committee, and then we'll take questions from Councillor Ahmed Walana and Councillor Mana and myself. So, Mr. Rashid, over to you.
Once again, apologise everybody for being late today, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity retrospectively to give our take on the matter. When we applied for the late night licence, the first thing we did is we looked at neighbouring locations to try and get an average of the kind of hours that we can operate at. And we assessed that Tomorrow Lounge, which has alcohol, which has music, which has smoke, shisha, have got until 2, 3, and the pizza place across the road until 4, and neighbouring other fast food restaurants, Tops Pizza, Chicken Cottage, and 5, 6 others who have got until 3, 4 in the morning. So, we thought that being a store which is grilled food, no music, no smoke, having spent £30,000 on 2 ESP systems, which reduces the noise as well as the smell as well, would have given us a competitive edge in terms of the environmental impact and then to ensure that the noise and the environment would be intact. Furthermore, we've observed as well from since we've been in the area, especially after putting in measures and strategies such as the dustbin, the biffa system, as well as having the rubbish stored in our area privately at the back, that has minimized a lot of environmental impact in terms of rubbish. I noticed that when we came in the area, before we started building, yes, maybe on Star Road, there was a collection of people that would kind of hoard around our back gate. But that has since stopped because we have cleaned up the area. We've spent £450,000 on this shop. Now, not to say just because we've spent the money that we should be allowed the timing, but the reason we spent £30,000 on 2 ESP systems, which I've gone and investigated in 80% of these restaurants in the neighbouring areas where they've been allowed until 3 or 4, they don't have 2 up-to-date ESP systems like we do, or a 630-watt fan. So we have gone all in to minimise the noise and the smell of the area. I understand that Mr. Boniface has made some kind of observation, and that's his own subjective opinion and observation, but we have also spent money double the amount that we would have had if we had followed other types of restaurants in the area and gone to try and reduce the noise and the smell. And I think we did try to negotiate, maybe not with the environmental officer, and the only reason I didn't respond to the environmental officers because everything seemed opinionated. I didn't see any objective data apart from I believe or I think. So I didn't see a reason as to what is it you want me to do apart from give you a subjective opinion. I've got hundreds of opinions. But what we did have was some objective data that we shared. Now, Mr. Boniface has risen some points. There is a potentiality that when we done the noise report, that there could have been the building work taking place of when they've done the noise report. We can redo the noise report potentially if that's something that is required. And even when I was given a response by the council, the councillor,
I can't remember the name.
The lady that I was in communication with, I did mention to her that we are willing to negotiate. Louise, is it Louise?
Yeah.
We were willing to negotiate a half an hour window and be a bit more sensible in the timing that we're offering. Nonetheless, if a shop across the road which doesn't have 2 ESP systems is a pizza shop, unhealthy food, is allowed till 4, my question is, we've got 2 ESP systems, the characteristics of our area as well as the pizza shop across the road, i.e. in terms of residents living upstairs, and our characteristics is highly similar. So why have we been prejudiced relative to the people across the road? Why is it that Tomorrow Lounge, which has smoke, alcohol and music, is allowed till 3, 4 in the morning, but yet the characteristics remain the same where we are and we're not?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to start off with one that I like to ask everybody that comes here. Could you tell me what the licensing objectives are, please?
Licensing objectives?
So there's 4 licensing objectives that every premises should... If you don't know, it's not a massive problem.
In all honesty, I don't remember.
Okay.
Maybe I need to look back at my tacit knowledge.
All right, no worries. Councillors, do you have any questions?
I mean, I can make an assumption.
It's all right. If you don't know off the top of your head, I would go away, research them.
Yeah, sure.
Get yourself up to date with them. Councillor Ahmed Walana.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. It's very disappointing to see you coming late to the subcommittee hearing. You knew already that you have it. It was not something sudden that you didn't know. And then the officer tried to get hold of you, but there was no response. I'm quite concerned that if you carry out this sort of attitude, not cooperating with this gentleman by not providing the enough information, telling out late at the committee, and saying in your presentation that there is a prejudice, whereas the scene is not made. We wanted to hear from you and the experts and the licensing, and then, of course, there will be decision. Are you willing to listen to the officers and the experts, and are you willing to take the objections raised by either the officers, the experts, or the residents into your consideration? Because you mentioned, if I am right to say, you have spent on something £450,000, a big sum of money you have spent, other than another £50,000 on 2 machines. Are you not clear what
I've heard you.
I'm asking?
Could you maybe summarise your question into like a couple of sentences, Councillor Morano, just to help the applicant? This is new to them. Maybe.
Let me re-articulate. Are you willing to listen to the authority, licensing department, officers? Whereas I haven't seen this as yet, because the objections are raised that there was no cooperation. The objections are raised from the residents that there is a noise issue, which of course is.
Councillor Morano, I don't believe any, just for clarity of the committee, I don't believe there's been any issues raised other than directly with the authority around noise. There is one around potential of noise, which has been raised by residents which are concerned about it being in the later hours, but I don't think anybody has raised any direct complaints about noise at the premises currently. But just to try and summarise your question, I think what you are asking is, you are concerned that the applicant has not cooperated with some of the professional opinions of officers in the environmental team, and would they be willing, moving forward, to take on some of those professional observations to try and mitigate some of the potential circumstances that may occur? Is that a summary of your question?
In a very simplified way, that's what I meant.
Thank you.
Firstly, I can see that Councillor here was quite perturbed by the fact that I've been late. So once again, for the third or fourth time, I do profusely apologise. It's just that we've been shifting properties, and it's been a tough time for us while we've been shifting properties. As a matter of fact, because we couldn't find parking, we've been going around for half an hour. I've actually parked on a yellow line. I'll probably get a ticket, but we wanted to not waste any more time than we already have done. When Anisha did call, I think she may have called us, I did try to answer and I couldn't really hear. We were trying to find parking. So once again, I apologise for that. In relation to the question that would we be willing to work with the council to try and mitigate, of course, I don't see why that is even a question, because we've been already communicating with the council where we felt that there was something objective to discuss. Where we found that there was opinions, then I didn't really know what objective decision or how to respond to that. So I didn't want to give opinions. I thought, well, when the councillor is going to make their decision based on objective facts, then we'll provide the necessary documentation. Whether we are going to mitigate noise or, take consideration of the environment, I wouldn't put all my family's funds, 450,000, into a shop and then go against the council and make noise. We have tried our best. Why did I spend 30,000 on 2 ESP and 630 watt fans when the other shops haven't? It's because we want to do right for the environment. I'm spending £300 on Biffa so we can minimize rubbish in the area. So yes, the answer to the question, if it wasn't obvious already, is of course we want to work alongside the council.
Councillor Morano.
It's not a question as such, but just to say that it's good to hear that you've said that the noise report can be done again, because the initial report was done when there was building work going on. So thank you for that.
Just to be clear, would you be prepared to have that as a condition, if we were to grant, and we will make a decision privately, but if we were to grant, would you be happy to have that as a condition on the licence?
Of course, please. We haven't come to the meeting in a stance that we are against the council. We're here to listen to you, and we're here to work alongside, and we want your support as well. But you can see from our side, when we see other restaurants, you know, who have got 3-4 licenses, and they've got noise and smoke and alcohol, and we're serving grilled food, something healthy for the environment, then of course we want to work alongside you. I mean, I don't have much, I'm not here to debate or argue. We're here to do what we can.
Okay, do my colleagues, Councillor Mana?
You mentioned the Tamara Lounge, but I don't think they have any residents living above, because it's a unit on its own.
The flats above us, actually, as a condition to the lease itself, we've already got an understanding that when those residents cleared, all those flats are going to come to us. Nonetheless, there's not been any complaints as such from the residents above, but during this process, there has been one lady who made 90 years old, Miss Doreen, who made a complaint about noise, but she resides directly behind Tamara Lounge, and you know, and they've got until 3. They've got music, alcohol, smoke. So I did explain in my response, she is this many meters, 57 odd meters away from us, where she is right behind Tamara Lounge where there's music. So I didn't really understand what more noise in terms, you know, a grilled food restaurant we would be contributing relative to the kind of noise that she's already exposed to when it comes to Tamara Lounge. I wasn't being rude when I said that if she is 90 years old, noise report of the hearing. I'm not being funny about that. I mean, she's right behind Tamara Lounge. There's a lot of music, there's a lot of smoke, there's alcohol, there's drunk people. We are all the way 57 meters away on down the street. So I wasn't being funny when I said, we're providing a noise report. Maybe we need hearing report. I mean, she's right there. How are we going to contribute any more noise 57 meters away? It doesn't make statistical or logical sense. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Councillor Ahmed Walana.
Thank you. We are settling in now, so good to hear from you about this. You said that you spend money on 2 machines just to have a control over the noise. Can you please elaborate what sort of good impact those machines would have on the noise?
We, to the councillor, the lady that I've been communicating with at the council, I did submit the technical spec of the ESP system. Majority of the restaurants in the area, and when we were doing our building work, we did do our research around ESP systems. The ESP system's job or role is to mitigate or minimize, not mitigate totally, but it is there to minimize smoke into the environment. And it's only been recently through historical research and data that Pepe's have provided us as a franchise that they have had, out of their 211 locations, some councils that have contested using one ESP system. So when we opened the shop, because we knew we're plunging all of our family funds into this restaurant, I didn't want to then rip out the ceilings afterwards. We decided from the very start we will install 2 ESP systems, even though it wasn't a legal requirement. And in doing so, we were hopeful that it will go a lot further in minimizing the smell and the smoke. So again, the ESP system is there to minimize smell and smoke, and we have submitted a document with all the technicalities and the specification of the ESP system.
Thank you, colleagues. Do you have any more questions? I just have a question around public nuisance and what steps you would put in place, especially late at night, to make sure that people don't linger, cause antisocial behaviour, and obviously impact local residents.
Yes, sir. I mean, what we are tending to see in our area, other than our restaurant, is that the majority of food sold in the area after 12 o'clock, or even 11 o'clock per se, is mainly by riders. It's Uber, a lot of people are ordering from home. So, we have a relationship with Uber and the riders as well, because we look after our riders, we speak to them, we tell them when you're here, make sure that the food is ready on time. So number one, it's by streamlining our processes internally at the store to make sure that food is ready on time, so they don't have to come, start and stop and wait a long time. When they wait a long time, that's where congregations take place. So what we were thinking is, if we have the food right and ready after 11, 12 o'clock, then we can come out ourselves, pass it to the rider, so they're moving along, so that there's no people or gathering of a lot of people in the area. That's one way that we've thought about mitigating the noise. The other way is to ensure that no riders are stood on Star Road, which is the back of our shop. So to ensure, to tell or email Uber to let them know that any of your riders that are going to be collecting food to not be travelling or hoarding or stopping by Star Road, but rather come to the front of our restaurant, parallel to the main road. And in so doing, I don't think they would be contributing to a lot more noise, because it is a main road right in front of the parking lay-by. There's bikes and cars going on the main road.
My next question, if I may.
Can I add something on that? If it's
Okay, I'll allow it because your name is on the application, but short, please.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. So what Rahim mentioned about the Star Road, it's a one-way, so there's no entry way next to our shop, so there no one can go into that direction. If someone has to come here, they have to go all the way around. So easier way for any driver or any biker is to get into the driveway next to our shop, basically. The other thing which I wanted to point out is most of the residents upstairs are our customers as well. And if they have something to flag, they come and approach us. So we are approachable, we are talking to them, and we try and address things where some of the residents back had some concern, and they said, are you able to provide the CCTV because we had so and so problems? And I said, look, with the GDPR, we cannot directly give it to you, but certainly if you have police complaint, give it to us and we can take those kind of into consideration. So we are approachable with our neighbors who are also our customers who are walking in stores, and we do have a face-to-face discussion with them. So just to put that point across.
You've now got two questions because you spoke, so now you get a question. How do you record your complaints?
Regarding any complaints, we do have a process, handbook, where our manager takes the note of those and flags it to us, saying this so and so thing happened, and this goes in line with all the complaints as well. So anything where they say X complaint, they put the order number, they put the client details and the reference, and we get back to them and address it out. If they're calling on the phone, they come back. Once it's resolved, whoever's addressed that problem signs off, and what kind of step they have taken to sign that off, and what kind of mitigations, for example, they've given a prize or something to resolve the problem. It's just a tick on the box, basically, so that's what we do.
Thank you. My other question is, if we were to grant this licence, because some of the stuff we have from our colleagues in environmental protection team obviously haven't been fruition, they are expert opinions. Do you understand that if you do get the extended licence today, what the powers the council has to review, restrict or revoke your licence, if some of the things then they were to come complaints, the decibels were to be checked, etc., etc. So I guess the question is, do you understand that and the importance thereof of what I think both my colleagues, Councillor Ahmed Wallan and Councillor Lakmana, have said, of working constructively with the council to try and make sure that those are avoided? Because the last thing you would want to happen is to have it potentially accepted today, and then 6 months later, everything that Mr Boniface has said come to fruition and you end up without a licence. That would be a terrible outcome for you, terrible outcome for local business, but obviously we do have to stick to the rules. Do you just understand those two things? I just want to be absolutely clear.
Yes, sir. We have not an iota of doubt, and as we said, we are here to work with the council and not against the council, and we want to look after our community. So if people are feeling disturbed, the first thing we want to do is to engage with those neighbours and work it out ourselves between us as a community. Where we've had in the past any neighbours who may have had issues with things, they've come to us before. We've had some neighbours in the past come from upstairs saying that there's been litter outside, and we took the gentleman to the back and we said, look, the littering may have not been from us because we've got a contract with Biffa, we've got our name on the bin and it's behind our gates. And when he was really annoyed, he came to the store, you've got your rubbish at the back, but when we spoke to him, gave him a portion of fries, spoke to him, he came to the back, we showed it to him, we took pictures so we have evidence for the future just in case he raised a complaint, and he was actually apologetic, and he said, you know, I was just annoyed to see rubbish and it wasn't our rubbish. So I do feel since we've come into the area we have somewhat contributed positively as well. We understand your concerns for sure, and we are willing to work with the council and the community for sure.
Okay, I think we've done this quite a bit. One quick question, Councillor Mawala?
Just out of my curiosity, I know you would like to have extended hours because to have a business. Would you be willing to have a sort of less hours, like 11 to 3? It's quite along.
I think they've already kindly. I've kindly apologise. I retract that. They've already suggested that it was going to be to 3, but I think between a Sunday and a Wednesday, they have said between to 2. So they have already offered some mitigation.
We honestly appreciate your time. We know you're busy people, and I thought, rather than coming all the way here, we were late as well, and taking your time, I already tried to engage with the councillor, and I was prompted my responses on email, and I did try my best to work it out before I even got here. I said, what is the issue? Let's find out what the issue is, let's mitigate it, so that we don't need to waste time. And we said, okay, you don't want 3, we know others have got 3 and 4. We're not going to argue and say, why not us? Although I think it should be a matter of argument, but anyway. We came back and we said, okay, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we'll do until 2 o'clock, and Wednesday, but at least Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know, that's our busy time, and we've spent considerable funds on this shop, all of our family's funds. Give us the opportunity to do it until 3, but we understand. Sunday night, we didn't ask for it. We said, let's go back to 2 because people sleep early for work in the morning, and we empathize with that. His professional works in pharmaceutical operations. He goes to work. So even he said, I can't work until that time myself because I need to be at the office in the morning. So we understand.
Thank you very much. We're going to draw to a close the presentation from our applicant, and I thank them for taking questions there. We have no other parties here, although we did receive representations which can be viewed in the pact by anybody listening from Mr. Pankia and Miss Ellis. They are not here, unfortunately, today to be able to take questions. They don't have any obligation to be here, but possibly when we get into the discussion led by the committee, we may be able to explore some of their concerns when we open up and discuss that. That draws to a close all of the parties who give presentations. We now open up to a discussion led by the Select Committee. Would any of my colleagues like to make any observations or say anything at this point? I think I'd just like to observe that I think, especially Miss Ellis's presentation, I think she has obviously, rightly or wrongly, experienced some concerns with Tamara Lounge. That obviously not the applicant's his responsibility to make sure they behave, but I think it has to be just sort of like when you're thinking about it. I don't think she's complaining particularly because she's got a grudge against you or anything. I think she just has a difficult experience with that premises, rightly or wrongly. I'm not making an observation as to whether that is, but I just think, you know, it just feels like, I'm sure she feels it is just another outlet for another hour where there can be antisocial behaviour, and I think we need to do a lot to make sure we mitigate that, and I would hope that you would be agreeable, although we may put it as conditions to ensure that we have signs making sure that people are respectful to neighbours, that you actively make sure that if people are making a lot of noise, you go out and make them be quiet, etc., etc. So I just wanted to make that as an observation for the people who have taken the time to write in about this application. Okay, I don't have any other comments from councillors, so I'm going to move on to closing remarks from each party. Sorry, apologies. Do any of our outside bodies have any other comments before we go to closing remarks?
We welcome suggestions from committee as well as I'm sorry, I forgot Louise, who I've been communicating with. Apologies, Louise. We welcome any strategies that you may have to be able to implement in our store in order to actively align with your objectives and expectations.
Thank you very much. Mr. Boniface, do you have any closing remarks?
Just to come back on a couple of points, Ray.
Please.
ESP was talked about a lot. The applicant has paid for a Rolls-Royce system, and it exceeds best practice. ESP is a way of filtering out the larger particulate matter, including smoke, before we then go on to filter out using carbon filtration, and in their case ozone, which is a secondary concern because you shouldn't do that at low level because of risk of resonance. That's our concern. Not the intent for you of yourselves, not to mitigate the problem, but that you've got the Rolls-Royce system. We know it produces a whole load of smoke. You can't add another ESP. The reason you don't do two is because they lose their effectiveness after one because of the logarithmic effect of odour in how it's perceived. So our big concern is the reason you spent a load of money is because you can't duct easily up to the top. Spent a huge amount of money putting in a system that's not been effective, so where do you go from here? That's really the crux, that they've got such a good system, but you can't make it better. It exceeds the best practice guidance. Made reference to other pizza shops and so forth being worse. Actually, because of the type of cooking you're doing with the open grill, and it's the fat falling down onto the burner, which is causing the smoke. So in terms of the guidance and risk assessing these things, the DEFRA guidance, you're considered the highest in terms of risk of nuisance formally, and the further mitigation isn't available. So that's the crux of our concern here, and really it's the fundamental of having an extract fan into a courtyard at low level, which is the problem. If you were dispersing 20 meters into the air or ducting like some other premises up into the air, it's dispersed and it loses concentration. That was our concern.
Just one observation for the committee. If Councillor Davies was here and not sunning himself in Crete, he would say that we are obviously here only to talk about the venue that we are discussing here, other than possibly where we strayed into an area where we were discussing some of the concerns of local residents as examples. But we are only here to discuss Pepe's Peri Peri, not other venues. Okay. Lois, do you have anything to?
Nothing, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything final you'd like to add? You don't have to. No. Okay. Nothing else. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Yep.
On this system which we are talking about, ECG, so it's controllable how we can increase or decrease the latitude of it. So there is possibility of increasing the capacity of it. We keep it a higher capacity, or we can increase the lower capacity. Just that point of that on the system side of things here. I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Okay. That draws to a conclusion this part of the meeting. My colleagues and I, along with our representatives from Legal and Democratic Services, as our support, will now go and deliberate. I can't put a particular time on how long that will take. You are welcome to wait outside. We will reconvene and go live back on YouTube for that deliberation. You're welcome to wait outside, and if you tell us you are, we will make an active attempt to come and get you. But if not, we will get that. Is there anything else I need to say at this point? No? I will cover the legal aspects of it there. So I'm going to call to a close the meeting there. Thank you very much, councillors, officers, for giving up your time, and we will reconvene in a short while.